Hello everybody, this is Tariq L1 and this is the first lecture for SBM4104, the IT infrastructure unit. What we will cover today. Let's go over what we will cover today. We will cover few concepts first. Today's lecture is descriptive lectures, so there is no technical materials. So what you need to understand, very basic concepts about what is the word infrastructure in IT. What's the strategies when we talk about the abstract, for example. The architects, what is that IT architecture? So let's go first for very basic concept. When we talk about the IT architecture, what is that exactly? You have a plan, you have strategies. When you work in a company or the company itself, any company, whatever the company is, that company has a goal, has strategies. They want to reach that goal. For example, IT company, that company want to create software and sell the software and so on. What's their goal? To sell as much as of that software and spread the software around the world, or the new technology, for example. To do that, you have to have a strategy. Strategies means step by step. You have a plan or blueprint. So we want to move from something which is hypothetical, something planned, blueprint, and then we move to translate that from a plan on papers or on just like a sketch into an infrastructure. So you translate that into a physical things, something we can do. The infrastructure itself, so now the strategy is like a plan, blueprint. What is infrastructure? The infrastructure involve hardware and software, both hardware and software. The hardware, put anything under the hardware you like, between server, router, switch, cables, whatever, APs, anything you want. Software include any type of software and the data and the type of data. To move from the abstract, which is the blueprint, into a concrete or physical plan, what you need to do exactly, you need to have, or the owner or the general managers, for example, they have to have a vision. What vision exactly? You need to look at what's exactly that technology is, or what's that is. If we talk about IT, we have a technology, whatever the technology is, and what's the vision for that technology. For example, and very easy example, the 5G new technology. The developer for that company, which is Huawei, they try to, what their vision? We want to change the world from 4G, which is considered as low speed, into a 5G, which is considered a high speed. Why is that? Because that's a better technology. Yes, but is that the only thing? No. It's involved with sales, marketing, and controlling as well. Don't forget the word controlling, or dominating the market. So you need to have a vision, and based on that vision, you will go to have a plan. As you see, from the owner's visions into the plan, and from the plan to the implementation. After I have plan, and I make sure that the plan is excellent. So now I need to implement that plan to turn it into the physical mode. So if you want to take it in another way, I have a strategy or plan. Then I do the architect, and then from the architect I move into the infrastructure area. So the vision, you can call it as a strategy, the architect plan, which is architecture, and the builder implementation, this is the infrastructure. All right. So to do that, you need some executive managers, COEs, network admin. Each person has a rule or rules actually to do. Some of the manager's rules, which is the most important by the way, it is making decisions, planning and decisions. That's very important. The most important why companies hire managers. They hire managers to plan for the future of the company and the expansion of the company, and also to involve with making decisions. This is the most two important things. But for a manager to do this, to plan and to make decision, they have to have a vision. Vision means a future vision, which is future planning. So how the manager move from nothing, scratch, into an implementing company. When you've been hired as general manager, whatever it is, and they ask you to start a new company, for example, what do you usually do? You sit with your assistant and you try to figure out what's our goals, what's the goal of that company. That company provides some specific technology. After I put that technology, this is the technology we provide, this is the let's say services we provide. I need to put some, let's say, virtual planning, let's say paper plans, that's all, and how I'm gonna do that in a specific step by step. For example, I want to sell services. Where is the best area to sell these services? Where is the best countries? Where is the best cities? Who actually my target customers, client? Who I'm gonna target? The aged people, the young people, the middle, whatever. Who I'm gonna target exactly? What services I'm providing, and what's that? Then I'm gonna move to plan strategies, and then from that strategies, okay, now I have a vision. I put strategy for my company, and I put some goals. Goals means like I have to go to that market. For example, I'm gonna move to the US. Okay, now in US I need to, in my short-term goals, I need to, for example, take 5% of the take over 5% of the US market. That's in short goal. In long-term goal, I need to spread up to 70%. In what? In 15, 20 years, for example, like that. And I need to put step by step what I will do. You move from strategy to goals, and you then from the goals, you need to highlight what is the business requirement. If you try to move from architect to infrastructure, in short, you need to move. This one you can summarize that slide in how to move from abstract to concrete. Abstract, something which is something on paper, to concrete, something physically exists. You can plan your company to be on small size, local size, or global size, or global level, as they say. How to translate your company from the architect into the concrete, or from abstract to concrete. How to do that? First, you need to have what we call it like the hardware and the software and the network and the data. The data is part of, we cannot consider it as part of the software, because we assume that the software is something which is built in already and we just install that software. The data, the daily entry data, like for example client data, that's like something changing every day. So if I want to move from strategy to architect, or from abstract to concrete, what I need to exactly to do, I need to focus on the hardware, the software, the network, and the data. And that's mostly our concern. And what we're talking about here in terms of IT frame. The managers usually, they have the, as I said that before, they have a vision. That vision starts with a small overview, which is like, general overview of that product, that company, whatever that. And they start creating frames. We have multi-type of frames, by the way. These frames mostly answer some questions, which is who's involved. It's like individuals or group, department, and where it's located, and what is the specific type of technology, what type of technology we will provide. So where is that located, who's gonna be involved with that, and what kind of technology we will use. If we move over here, this is another frame which you can see that frame, as you can see, that it's answered those kind of questions. That's just only an example, by the way. We have different type of frame like that. And that's what, who, where, and as you can see here, what hardware I'm gonna use, who will use this hardware, where this hardware will be located, what software I'm gonna use, who will be affected or use that software, and where that software will be installed, and so on and so on and so on. What data we have, who needs this data, and where we can keep that data, and where to store it. We have some different type of architecture framework. However, the most famous one, let's start with that one, what we call it client server, and that's the most used currently in the market. What is client server exactly? What 96, 97, 98% of what we have in the world based on client server. Your email, client server. Facebook, YouTube, whatever it is, everything, almost everything, not everything actually, but almost everything based on client server. What's that exactly? Based on a server, jumbo servers, sure, for example like YouTube, jumbo server, and that's servers located in different area around the world, and we are, as a client, we log in to these servers and we actually ask or request data, and we put data into these servers. You have a Hotmail, Gmail, whatever, AOL email, that actually your email on the Hotmail server, and you as a user log in to the server to send or receive an email or check your email. In Epic, for example, whatever you use, for example, you use the Canvas, or you use the RTO, or we use whatever it is, even your email, it's all about client, which is you, and the server, which is the server of the Epic. We have another very famous as well, which called peer-to-peer. Peer-to-peer, that's non-central. Client server is a central, located one place or multiple places, replicated places. It has servers and you actually connect to that. This one has advantage, which is really, you can say that client server, it's easy to manage. Not easy, but easier to manage compared to the peer-to-peer. You have some kind of security. It's really controlled under security. If you want to update, if you want to upgrade, if you want to do information, for example, to inform the client, whatever, it's easy to do that. And you can actually, as a central control, as we can say, you have a central control in terms of everything. So that one, you have a central station, central control system. With peer-to-peer is not. If you are familiar with the torrent, how torrents work, the torrent is like device to device. So we share data from my computer to your computer, from your computer to another computer. That's how it is? Yes, that's how it is. So is there any central control? No. Is that can provide security? No. Very low level of security, because you have a data in your computer, I have different data on my computer, I share my data, you share your data, and so on. Is that a professional one? Is not. We have a framework which is wireless, and you're familiar with the microwave technology, the serial, which is the mobile, what we call it mobile. In the US they call it serial phone, and the satellite. We have another frame, and that's used to be dominating the market within the 70s and 80s. However, since the companies start to move into client server, the mainframe start to decline a lot, and only with under high level of security they use the mainframe. What is mainframe exactly? Centralized computer, for example, it has all the data, everything inside that centralized computer, large one, and the users, as us, for example, if we connect to that, if you want to get data from there, if you want to save data from there, everything has to be done on the mainframe, on that centralized computer. Can I take data from that centralized computer to my own computer? No. Can you do things on that except that you changing whatever, modifying like that? It's not. The mainframe, which is the one of the eldest language to the mainframe, the COBOL, which is used to be a really famous language on the 70s and the 80s, then sure almost disappear. I believe it disappeared already. However, the mainframe is a jumbo centralized computer. Those users, they can actually log in with terminals, and you do all your work on the mainframe. That's how it is. For the service-oriented architect, this one, it used to be like if you have a jumbo software, for example, jumbo software program, and you want to break it down into smaller pieces, and then you connect those ones into each other, regardless of the physical area. And that's really another story. But for now, if the service-oriented architect, you have a lot of software, jumbo software, you break it down, and you provide it into services. And if you have any idea about, which you will actually, by the way, you will cover later on, something like Azure system, the virtualization, or the software as services. We will cover that, but for now, that's what you need to know. The web-oriented architect, as the name maybe tell you, it's just only some hardware, software, it's provided online. And that one you will cover as well in cloud computing and virtualization. Up to here, we will move to the enterprise architect. What is that enterprise architect? If you want to build a company, and this company require, sure, physical location, require infrastructure in terms of hardware, software, you have network and you have data. We have 4 key elements you need to focus on. One, the first thing, what is your business? What we call it like the core business process, which means that what your business type is. That's what you provide services, or you provide technology, or what's that, software, hardware, what exactly. Then who's your customer? So some services provided for different people. For example, services sometimes provide for age people, or services provided for young people, services provided for handicapped people, services provide for army, services provide for whatever it is. Who's your customer? And what the data itself you will collect, is that shared data or non-shared data? Is that can be everybody can share, or this is like classified data, like government data, whatever it is? Can we automate that these services and make it linked to technology? Which means that, for example, like the central link, whatever it is, most of the people right now that you can apply, you can do all your work automations. You don't need to go yourself over there. We have some architect examples. The Zachman and TOGAF. What is that exactly? The Zachman, similar to what we covered before, you have to answer a few questions about those: how, when, and why. And two, the open group architect framework. We need to provide standardization, and actually the word standardization, we will cover that between, it's involved of what we cover from next week, which is as of week 2 to week 7. We will go over what we call it OSI model, and that's the OSI model came based on standardization. We try to create standards in everything in IT. Standardization. The TOGAF, that's the one of the main thing. You need to have standardization, practical standardized methodology to success. One of the thing which is I want you to understand, very few company start from scratch. Let's rephrase that word. When you work as in company, 95% you work in an existing company, and less than 5% you work with a fresh brand new company. So when you work on an existing company, what you need to do exactly, if for example if you've been hired as general manager for that company, what you need to do, the first thing, you need to understand how this company works first, the architect of that company, the current infrastructure, what we have, the locations, the hardware, the software, the business, the customer, the client, everything, even the worker, the group, the employees, everything, how everything works, the architect of that company. Then when you become familiar with what you have, you need to think about how to, let's say, improve the situation of that company. If I change the architect of that company, can that company become much better? That's one of the issue you need to focus on. Can I improve? How to improve that architect? And one of the thing which is how to expand. Okay, for example, right now you take over a company. The company has, for example, 10% of the Australian market. What's your goal? To expand to the 20 in how many years? 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever, like this. If I have only 2, 3 branches in Australia, can I make it like 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever it is? The expanding of that company, how long? I need to put a plan as well to do that. When you work in companies, you can not you cannot, but it's not recommended that you, when you work in a new company, that's like, for example, in you've been hired to an existing company. What the issue here, you have infrastructure already, and this infrastructure and the architect, it's exist for years. You can edit, you can modify, you can add, you can do some changes, but for you to come and you said, okay, I'm gonna take everything off, I'm gonna start from scratch, I'm gonna rebuild everything from scratch, that's costly. That's really costly. And most companies, they don't like that. To come to a company and you take everything off and you put everything from scratch, that's like if you're rebuilding the company. And most cases is not. So you need to actually understand the current architect of the company, what you have, and what you want to do in the future. And you need to merge what you want to do with what you have. In short, you need to modify, you need to add what you want to add. What we call it legacy system or legacy architect. The legacy architect, which is the existing company architect. I have an existing company architect and I want to add to that. How to add to that? For example, I want to add a new technology to my company. I need to analyze the company right now, if that system can have it. For example, you want to add virtualization to your company. I want the client, the companies to use virtualization. All right. The first thing to ask yourself, do we have an infrastructure which can carry virtualization? Yes or no? Do we have services? Do we have servers? The connections? Do we have actual physical real infrastructure can provide that? Yes or no? And if it's yes, how long it take me? The cost, which is very important factor, by the way, the cost, and is compared to what the other provide right now. Which one is to do virtualization or stay in the same system or whatever it is. But you need to analyze your system first and then compare it with what you want to do, and then after that you come back and you say, okay, it's yes or no. When you try to implement that new architect, or if you want to modify the existing system, you need to make sure that whatever you will add to the system, it's compatible. Very important concept. You don't want to add a software, for example, for your system, it didn't work, or it crashed your system. You don't want to add hardware, it didn't work with the hardware you're working on. You don't want to add something which create a lot of problem to the existing system. that system has to be compatible, and that your system has to be flexible, and that system has to be redundant, and that system has to be resilient, that's so on. And you need to have a time frame to implement that system. For example, I want to change from that system to that, the system 1 to system 2 in 6 months. Okay, and you need to generate resources for that, which is labor and money to do that, and you have to allocate that as well. Time frame. This is one of the most important concept. I want you to understand this concept really clearly. We have in IT some, let's say, definitions. I don't want to say definitions, but let's say concept you need to be familiar with, and you need to understand it very clearly. Let's start with the word scalability. What is scalability in IT or networking? Scalability means the ability of a system to expand or shrink without restructure. What do you mean by that? You study in Epic. Alright, we receive another 500, 600, 800 new students. If my system is scalable, I can accommodate those students in my system without the need to restructure anything, just adding. Why is that? Because I have system which is elastic, so I can add some, I can shrink, you expand or you shrink without restructures, nothing. So I don't need to let's say destroy something and rebuild it again. I don't want that. Or redesign something from the beginning. I don't want to take all my network system and rebuild it because I receive another 600 students. I don't want that. If you have more client, you expand. If you have less client, you shrink without restructure. My structure is this as it is. What is that? Scalability. The adaptability, which is the ability of your system to adapt or merge new technology without it affecting the existing system. So I have a new technology, for example. Can I merge that technology inside my system, whatever your network is? Can I implement that within my network without the need for restructure or adding things? Just merging. A new technology came. Can I put it in? Yes or no? For example, you have a new technology. It's compatible with Windows 10, but not compatible with Windows 8. But my system is Windows 8, for example. So is that adaptability? Can my system adapt the new technology? Standardization, and this is one of the main factor on network or IT in general. In IT, you will find standardization for everything. Standardization for hardware, and you actually have heard maybe about the IEEE, the ITU. We will cover that, by the way. Organization, which is provide standards for everything in IT, and that's what makes you, for example, you using Apple machine, Mac machine, and another person use Windows machine, another use Linux machine, another whatever like that. However, we all can communicate. You have a USB. This USB can work in any machine. Who create that? The standardization organization, which we will cover later on. One of the standardization, the standardization methodology, we will start to cover that as of next week, which is the OSA model, the model which all the IT technology follow that to create their software or hardware as well. standards in everything. The security, I think that's the everybody know that's the issue with the security right now. Security become really major issue in current years, in the recent years, especially with the moving into automation and everything right now involved with you can say IT, with the new car which has computer inside, with the new home appliances like a fridge, like whatever, everything with computer linked to the internet. You can control those things through the internet. So with that, which means that someone in future, in recent future by the way, someone will be able to hack into your house and control your own home appliances as well. And not just like that, it's actually the airplanes, the trains, whatever it is, and you actually familiar with the no driver trains, the the auto trains which run everywhere right now. So you have trains running on tracks without drivers, without anybody. So is that a security issue? Yes, because if someone actually can get into these type of things, they can create a disaster things. So in short, security have a real major issue here. Let's go over this concept very quick. The adaptability, how your system will be able to adapt new technology in terms of software, hardware. Scalability, remember that from me. What's scalability exactly? The ability for your system to expand or shrink without restructure. I do not need to restructure. Standardization, we have standards in almost every IT technology. Even when we have a new technology come out, for example, like Bluetooth, when it came out, as soon as it came out, we have some kind of organization as well which create standards for that, for Bluetooth. If you want to use Bluetooth, this is how to use. If you want to use satellite, this is what to use, like this for everyone. Security, it's, you can say a lot about that. However, one thing I want to mention to you about security, security can be either centralized or distributed, or centralized and decentralized. What is that exactly? You can put in most companies, by the way, they use what we call centralized system. What is that exactly? If you are in Epic and you work in one of your computer, not yours, but one of the lab's computer, for example. On the lab's computer, you will not find antivirus software, for example. You will not. But you will find somewhat we call agent software, which is 5 meg only, or less than 5 meg sometimes. Just the agent antivirus. So where is the actual antivirus? On the server. So the actual antivirus on our server. But what you have in your computer, just only an agent, which is detect any problem with your system. What is that? Centralized system, which is centralized security system. The decentralized or the distributed system, each machine will have its own software, which is, if you want to imagine that you are in the lab in Epic, and each computer has its own copy of the antivirus, for example. The financial issue, by the way, this is one of the major things in any company. People, they think that I'm writing proposal right now. A company hire me and ask me, can you provide us with a plan or a quote or proposal to build a new network. For example, assume Epic hire me as a network admin, and they told me that we want you to provide us with a proposal to change all the network system. Okay, no problem. One of the main factor in that, the costs. Why is that? Because I can provide them a really very advanced cost right now. I can get them the latest technology in marketing. How it cost them that? Millions. Do they need that? No, they don't. So what actually you try to focus on, you need to provide whoever asks you for proposal for what they are fit for, and the financial cost is the really important factor. The first thing that your boss look after when you provide a proposal, the cost, the final numbers, and after that they look at many things, but you need to provide a justification, for example, for what that number for. You need to provide sure what is the benefit, what is the risk, what is the quantity, and all these things. But at the end of the day, the dollar cost is the most important factors. The definitions, I do not let's say recommend you to memorize many definition. Just only one definition for the infrastructure is enough for us. What is the infrastructure is cost, what the equipment, yeah, software, hardware, and service involved. I believe that's easy concept. The infrastructure, and actually by the way, the word infrastructure, infra means under, and structure, as you know that, which is the usually the word infrastructure we use it to present the underground infrastructure, which means that whatever it is in the cities, the cabling, whatever, the sewer system, the water system, the electricity system, whatever it is, the road. But for us, just one definition for us is enough to memorize. I don't want you to memorize too much definitions. This is some other definition. Feel free to pick one of them and just to memorize. For us, the most important to understand what is infrastructure in IT or networking, which is without even memorization or whatever, you can assume that it's the hardware, the software, the services, the facilities involved with monitoring, controlling, supporting. That's it. Put it in your own word as well, we don't mind. This is some definitions, and this is what we have to summarize for today. What you need to focus on in here, focus on those four concepts: the adaptability, scalability, standardization, and security. And also try to how you, for example, this is an architect example, the three common configuration of the architect, this one as well, and those ones, and try to pick one of the architects. How to move from strategy to architecture. How to move from strategy to architect. What's the, for example, the manager rules. I believe most of you maybe without reading or going over many details, you can assume that if you work in as a manager in any company, in IT, for example, because we cover IT sector, what's your main role is. You can add to those, as you can see, those four lines. You can add to those from your own as well, if it's okay with the concept. As of here, that's all what you need to go over. As of next week, we will move to the actual technical materials, which we will cover the OSA model, and that's one of the most important concept in recent IT technologies. I wish you all the best, and I will see you next week.